Hey, welcome back, everybody. So this is going to be the watch list for Monday, February 10th, 2025. Let's start with the economic news. On Monday, we have a clear, wide open day. No news is scheduled, but what you have to be cognizant of is that it will be preparing itself for Tuesday and Wednesday, where Jerome Powell will be testifying in front of Congress. Now, the last time this happened, the market did not take the news very well. So, where we're at right now in the current cycle is the market wants him to lower rates. We are seeing other countries around the world lowering rates, and he is holding steadfast in that the first rate cut probably will not be till June. Now, mind you, with the unemployment that came in on Friday, it ticked down from 4.1% down to 4.0%, showing that the overall job market is resoundingly strong. Now, what did not come in well was consumer confidence. Consumer confidence dropped significantly. And a lot of that probably has to do with the policies of the current administration, right? Nobody knows who's on first, who's on second, government jobs being eliminated by, the hundreds of thousands, different departments of the government being shut down, personal information of individuals being released to Elon Musk to do whatever he wants to do with it. And when this kind of speak becomes mainstream media, people get really nervous and they get really scared, right? So imagine that we're going to lay off 2 million people in the U.S. government. And I'm not saying that it's not warranted, but that's 2 million people going into the workforce. And right now, the market is worried when we have 100,000 people becoming unemployed. Could you imagine 2 million? Like, what does that do to the economy? Who knows? So I think consumer confidence is dropping significantly because of the unknown. It's uncertainty. How are companies going to have to react? Tariffs. Tariffs are a huge headwind to corporations, especially those who are going to be importing and exporting goods and services. So Tuesday is going to be a very volatile day. I would recommend, if possible, and I know this is going to be a hard one, but you're not going to want to be trading while he's testifying to Congress. You're going to get a lot of knee-jerk market reaction back and forth. Options contracts are going to be extremely volatile, and you're going to have to be more lucky, in all honesty, than good. And it's just how things work. The other thing we're going to be looking at is overall CPI. So that's going to be coming in. So that's the consumer price index. We're going to get it not only on the core, we're going to get it the year over year. And then again, Powell is going to be testifying before Congress, more Fed governors speaking. On Thursday, we have jobless claims. We have the producer price index. We have PPI. So a really big week again on inflation numbers. And that is the one concern of the FOMC is they are targeting a 2% inflation. Not 2.2, not 2.8, not 3.1, 2.0. And until they get 2.0, they're not lowering rates. Now, if they don't lower rates and the market is fully valued, then the only way for the multiple to expand is for companies to be able to make more money on their products and goods and services. Well, that's not probable if the tariffs are going into effect. And that's why you're seeing this whiplash back and forth, right? And that's what's creating all the volatility. Friday, another really big news day, not only with import prices, that's going to, have a lot to do with how the tariffs are impacting over time. We have retail sales minus autos, industrial production, the capacity and utilization, and inventories. So it is going to be a jam-packed week. So I would encourage you to be patient on the market open. Feel free to give it, 10, 15 minutes to kind of find a direction. Now, again, you'll know that I will always advise that when there are big major events happening, like Powell speaking, you are best to just wait till he's done. Okay. Now, the good news is with the economic indicators, those are usually done before the market opens, like here and here. So you're pretty much good to go. But Monday, I don't know what we're going to see. We did see quite a knee-jerk reaction again on more tariffs being implemented for China on Friday afternoon. And therefore, the market decided to take that news and sell off because people don't want to be long over a 2-day weekend. So let's take a look at some of the actual names. You can see what happened here on Friday. We sold off really hard going into the close. All of my levels are holding. So one question that most people ask is, Bill, how do you or when do you redraw these levels? In all honesty, I don't. There is no need to. These levels have been on the chart, as far back as January. Some of them go as far back as November of last year. Some of them go to October of last year. And it's really, you can see where the market is trading in ranges. So my style of trading is I like to wait for a level to hold and go long, or wait for a level to break and go short. Now, before I do that, I will always be very cognizant of where are the buyers and where are the sellers. So you can see on SPY, and we have, quite a ways until Monday's open, being that it's only Saturday. But if we have defined weakness going into Monday morning, I'm going to be looking for a bounce at 599.64. If we fail that, then my next level down is 598.88. And then ultimately, we will probably pause here where the buyers were in the past at 598.41 before we go to 597.75. So just because you are in a zone with buyers does not mean that the sellers can't overpower them. And the same thing, if you're in a zone where there's sellers, does not mean that the buyers can't overpower them as well. So you have to watch price action. And you can kind of see here where we will hold the level, and then when we fail the level, they will bounce it, right? They will use it as resistance, then they will use it as support. They will use it as support. They will use this as support. They used it as support here. So I need to now just sit and wait for one or two things to happen on Monday morning. One, we push up to 600.75, depending upon who's going to be announcing earnings, to see if we get some momentum. And if we do, will we break above, retest, head higher? Or do we come up here and fail lower? My other scenario is we come down here and we bounce, or we come down here, we fail, we retest, and we head lower. Okay, let's take a look at QQQ, see where we got going on there. Same exact thing. I mean, levels are just holding perfectly. I've talked about this before, but once we can't hold this 527.79, 528.15, they just will push right up into it, sell it all the way down, wear it to my next level of 523.64, 523.52. There's times where I will have bands where we are very, very close in nature to the prices. And the reason for that is because the level is super, super strong. So if they can get above it, they will hold it and bounce it. But if they fail it, as you can see here, they go down to the next level, which my blue lines are on a 15-minute time frame. My yellow lines are on a daily, 4-hour, and 1-hour. So I use the blue lines as interims between levels. Now, if we have weakness on the open with QQQ, right, I'm going short all the way down here to where there's buyers at 519. So I'm going to probably open my contracts with a 519 put. Now, mind you, we still have, again, a lot of time till the Monday open. But if Monday morning pre-market we're trading here, I'm not looking for puts to 519. I'm looking for us to come into the buy zone to bounce it higher because the sellers are all the way up here. So this is going to be a very similar scenario. We're going to get above this blue line, bounce it, head higher, or we're going to fall below this blue line, retest it, head lower. That would be my strategy on the market open. Now, that could definitely change because if we're going to open in the pre-market here, or we open in the pre-market here, then I'm waiting for a reject here or a pull above, retest higher, or I'm looking for a bounce here, or I'm looking for a fail below, retest, head lower. Now, I normally don't like to short the market into overall demand, but you will note that these are very, very low time frames, 30-minute, 45-minute, 30-minute, 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 45. Those are very weak. That means there's not a lot of buyers there. We get a lot of solid buyers down here at 514 where we have 3-hour, 4-hour, 2-hour, and a nice support at 512. So if we are seeing weakness, my preference would be to play QQQ versus SPY. Okay, because in QQQ, I believe I have more room to the downside than us hitting a support level before we get to buyers, right? With QQQ, when I'm looking at this on the overall basis, I have more room to drop because I only have to get through the one level of zone, and then we'll come all the way down, and usually they'll flush through this pretty darn quick. So let's also go ahead and take a look at some individual names. I'm going to look at Amazon. Amazon disappointed on earnings, so therefore the levels are holding really nice with this. You'll see that we had the overnight drop. They pushed right down to my level at 225.18. We went back up. We held the level of 230 in the overnight hours, pushed up, came back down, 228.76, right? This is a fairly strong interim level. Right now, we're just below it. I would not want to be taking puts with a 3-hour overall demand. Now, if the overall market is weak, you could probably get away with going down to 225. But what I would wait and rather see is us break above this and then try to take over some of these sellers. So this is going to be more of a wild card to just use to watch. How will it drag QQQ up or down? But I don't really see a good solid trade setup here on Amazon for Monday. Again, you know, we have a lot of buyers sitting right here, so it would not be my preference to short that. Let's take a look at Meta. Meta super strong. I mean, this thing has just been making new highs every single day. I would not want to be shorting this. You can see that we have a ton of buyers here. So I would not want to go long until we can get above this prior candle close and this candlestick high, which would appear to be right around 723.14. Okay, so we backed off to 713. So now my preference is going to be to look for an uptrend entry on a bounce. We'll see yet again what's going to be happening on Monday morning before the pre-market, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and throw a trend line on here. Okay, what I'd love to see us do is just come back to the trend line, which is at about 711, so a little bit of a pullback, to then go long to 723. Ton of strength in Meta, nothing you want to short. Google, disappointed on earnings as well. So this was a huge sell-off. It was all the way up here at 211. They flushed it way lower, and then they sold it off yet again on Friday, okay? If we go back to the left here, I really don't have another good buy level other than probably what I would use is this pivot right here, where they rejected it, they used it as support, so I would be looking for a bounce at 183.50. I think this was overdone, in all honesty. They threw out the baby with the bathwater. You can see the MACD doesn't have very, very strong selling. All the strong selling happened in the overnight, and I think that this would be an opportunity for a bounce to the upside. You can see we have overall demand of buyers. If it's strong, I think you can definitely push back up here to 189 and then back up here to 193. Now, if you get weakness, a break below 183.50 and watching them break this 30-minute zone will probably take you down to 178. So something to keep an eye on. Again, I think I would prefer calls if the market is strong versus puts. Let's take a look at Apple. So Apple's been kind of all over the place. Again, holding my trend line right on the market close at 227. Again, sold off on Friday. We're holding here. I would not be looking for puts. I would like to see us bounce this to go higher. We pretty much have some good 4-hour demand, 40-minute, 30-minute, 45-minute, down here especially. If you break the level at 227, do not short this. You're going to hit daily demand on the 1 day and the 1 week. Super, super strong. So I would be looking for calls down here versus trying to take puts. Okay. So wait for them to push it lower and then wait for the buying to come in and take this one to the upside. I want to take a look at, let's take a look at AMD. AMD, awful earnings. I mean, they just trashed the stock. This stock is down 50% from its all-time highs. I mean, look at this. It was all the way up here at what, 200 and some odd dollars a share, and now we're at 106. If we break, again, I would not be shorting this going into the open with all of these buyers, but I can tell you, if we break this pivot right here at 106 and we don't hold the demand on the 1 hour, so I would definitely be looking for an entry here at 105.18, okay? So let's go ahead and we're just gonna drop a pin there. 105.20. You get below 105.20, I think you could definitely be going into the 102, 101 calls. Let them just free fall this thing lower. You can see there's nothing back here for months. I mean, through May of last year, June of last year, March of last year. I mean, this is where you're going to get panic selling to the downside, and people are just going to liquidate their positions. You could take a bounce here at 106. We did see them after earnings pump it higher, but then they sold it off, right? And this is the beauty about the supply and demand indicator is as soon as they push it up into supply, there were no buyers anywhere near, then these sellers just kept stepping in. So keep AMD on a watch. Let's take a look at the peer company or Confluence company, which is going to be NVIDIA. NVIDIA, again, the DeepSeek scare has clearly worn off, and they have been bidding this thing back up. This one, I would look for more upside. You know, you have sellers sitting up here at 140. A lot of you ask, well, Bill, why are there no sellers here or no sellers here? Because of this huge drop to the downside, you left all your sellers up top. They're all sitting up here still. Their orders did not get executed on that news overnight. So this is one that I would be looking for calls. What I'd like to see us do is come back to 127.67. You can see that they have used it as resistance, support, resistance. Now they're supporting it heavy. Okay, this had to be a news event or something wicked this down super heavy, and then they pushed it back up. But this one I like to the upside. And again, do note the trend is up, right? So do not fight the trend. Two more I want to look at had awful earnings that I think could give us some potential. One of them is going to be UPS. UPS said that they were going to be losing half their revenue from their largest customer. Well, their largest customer is going to be Amazon, right? And they're going to be doing a ton of cost cutting. So again, I think this one was probably way overdone to the downside. They state that they're going to be much more profitable. They're going to be much more efficient. Because when you have your largest customer controlling the majority of your volume, then guess what? They dictate price. And UPS got to a point and just said, enough is enough. We are not going to deliver your packages for pennies a day, right? We have all this equipment. We have fuel costs. We have airlines. We have employees. You know, we have so much expense to serve you. No way. And that's why they cut the relationship. Okay. So I think this one has some potential to the upside, but do watch if for some reason we get below 109. I think you're definitely going to want to be going short in this one as well, right? Because we really don't have any good support until significantly lower. Now, again, look at this one, and we'll look at this on a daily basis. You can see here that we have this gap, okay? So we're going to want to make sure that we got our gap from our pivot high to our pivot low right here, our candlestick low. This is going to be our overall gap zone that we're going to want to see. If we get strength back to the upside, they're going to want to recover this. So two things. One, on a daily basis, I would not want to see it come below 109. If we get to 109 again, I think I'm probably looking for maybe calls. We'll just have to wait and see. We do have a lot of buying down here at these prices. And again, I think they overdid it. To the upside, you know, we have 3 hours supply, 2 hour, 45-minute. But we get above that, guys, they're going to go for this gap fill. Now, normally when you have a gap, you will have them push the stock up to the bottom of the gap, reject it, retest it, come down, and they got to get into the gap. They'll use the bottom of the gap as a floor before they go higher. But this one, I think, is also probably maybe a long-term good buy and hold of the actual stock. Okay, so I'm going to save that layout so my gap remains. And then the last one I want to look at, some news on Friday. Sorry about that. Nike, train wreck. I mean, they got a new CEO. Everybody got so excited. They pushed it up. We do on a daily basis have a gap up here. Let me readjust that. There we go. We now have a new daily gap right here that has formed. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that in place. Okay. We have our gap there that we're going to keep an eye on. Everything else looks pretty good. There's a mini gap right here, but I'm not going to worry about that. So this thing is falling. I like this for a short on the open. I would love to see in the overnight them push this higher, but we only have 30-minute demand. And then my price level is 66. We get below 66, they're going to take this down to 65, right? So I would definitely be looking at maybe some 65 puts, but we're going to have to wait and see how the pre-market looks on Monday. So you'll note we got a little bit of supply that's forming on the after hours. Let's watch and see how this opens. I don't know that I would want this for a bounce. You can consider it maybe. But there's too much weakness in this name, and there is nothing good going on at Nike. And they also got a downgrade from Citibank, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. We can find out. The Nike bonds are selling off. Yeah, that's a problem. Downgraded again. Underappreciated. So, I mean, it's just a bit of a mess. I think Citi downgraded them, if I'm not mistaken. They had a neutral that was previously a buy. There's just nothing good going on in this name. So, and this is what we want to look for, right? We want to look for news events that can create a catalyst to get the bag holders who were holding from up here thinking it's going to come back. It ain't coming back, right? We're in a downtrend. So I would love to see us go short. So with that, hopefully this was super helpful for each and every one of you. I can't believe we're already into February. We got the first week. And again, just be patient. A lot of news coming up this week. Again, with Powell speaking, Congress, tariffs, a lot of strife back and forth. Just patience is going to pay. So wait for your level, trade level to level, and you will do remarkably well. With that, have a great week. We'll all talk soon.